Can't do both.
State Senate Majority Leader Michael Roberson makes his case for Congress and tells us why he is a true conservative.
Conspiracy theories don't work. The fact of the matter is they didn't turn out their delegates.
Nevada's Democratic Party chairwoman talks about death threats in the Sanders campaign after chaos at the state convention.
Judge Johnson, I think, gave a very thorough decision.
Action to a court win for school choice advocates.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now with Steve Sebelius and Patrick Walker.
The chaos of last weekend's Democratic state convention, still the top political story in the country this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Sebelius.
And I'm Patrick Walker. That convention was ended abruptly by security after it went into overtime, and unruly Bernie Sanders supporters caused the Paris Hotel Casino to say they could no longer guarantee everyone's safety. Clinton won after delegates were apportioned in a way that reflected the end result of the February 20th caucus results. But it was what happened the next day and throughout the week that captured national attention. Democratic State Party Chairwoman Roberta Lang says she was inundated with death threats, attacks on her family for what the Bernie Sanders supporters claimed was unfair treatment at the convention. I had a chance to sit down with her and talk about it and get her reaction from the Sanders campaign. Well, thank you for sitting down with us, and you know, we're several days out now. Let's look back, just big picture view. How surprised are you that it got to this level, the discourse and the fallout?
So I am shocked it got to this level, but I'm not surprised. And I'm not surprised because 2 days prior to the convention, Joan Cato, the former state director of the Sanders campaign and now on the national senior staff, we have transcripts of her, recordings of her at a rally talking about we have to take down the convention, we have to take down the party. Those kinds of things incited people to go to the convention with a mentality of we're going to take down the convention, we're going to take down the party. And I think what you saw on the day of the convention, look, people have sent me emails. They said, by us, people were yelling for your death. People were standing in front of the podium, were yelling vile things, making vile motions with their hands. It was pretty bad.
There were indications, obviously, that you just mentioned, and also some red flags with statements coming from Senator Reid, also from Senator Sanders, asking for some more polite discourse. Obviously, those weren't heeded.
I think they didn't get to his staff.
So you think a lot of this for you goes to the staff?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when you have a staff person getting people saying, do not leave the convention, do not do what the chair says, we're going to take down the convention, we're going to take down the party. Those are serious words.
Some of the accusations, the big one is that this was rigged. The game was rigged, which is a common refrain in the Sanders campaign. But from your point of view, I'll just ask you straight out, were the rules that were agreed upon followed?
Absolutely. The rules were voted on and approved by the executive board. They went to the convention floor. At that time on the convention floor, there were more Clinton delegates than there were Sanders delegates.
And even looking back farther, a lot of people forget or don't mention Secretary Clinton won by about 5 points and ended up with the same delegate. This is the same result that we saw back on February 20th.
Absolutely. It's the same. And it changed at the county convention because Senator Sanders outworked the Clinton people and got their people to the county convention. And so it flipped. It flipped back now because she outworked him for the state convention.
Have you received an apology from the Sanders campaign?
I have not received an apology.
And have you received, or what is your reception to hearing Jeff Weaver talking about how they don't condone the violence, but, and then the explanations are about other parts of what may have went wrong?
You know, there are a lot, they are really good at talking about conspiracy theories. You know, conspiracy theories don't work. The fact of the matter is they didn't turn out their delegates.
Well, of course, we have that entire interview on our website, LasVegasNow.com, under the local election, your local election headquarters section. So, Steve, we're seeing repercussions now nationally, even a letter going to the DNC coming from the state Democratic Party. So what are we looking at on the big picture?
Well, I don't see how this gets quelled. I mean, Bernie Sanders put out a statement. One line of that statement, just one line in 9 paragraphs, talked about, condemning violence and almost dismissing it. Like, of course I condemn violence. But the rest of it was, but they cheated us out of our delegates. They cheated us out of this convention. I don't see how that calms tensions at all.
And that's exactly what I was saying with that question about we apologize. But
yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of folks noticed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's a conversation when we talk about the national scale that we brought to the national scale. Joining us this week, we have Face the Nation host John Dickerson.
This week, we talked about how having 2 anti-establishment candidates still in the race is making the political landscape more volatile.
All right, John, I think the first thing we want to ask about, obviously, Nevada has been in the spotlight with the Democratic convention over the last week, and the news cycle continues talking about the divide in the Democratic Party with all of the uproar and the ruckus from the Bernie Sanders supporters at the convention. Did you see this coming? Did we see this kind of discourse coming in some form? And are you surprised at the level that it's been, even going to some death threats to the state party's chair here?
We definitely saw tension, and the underlying theme of the entire Sanders movement, both from the candidate but also from those who are so supportive of him, is that the system is stacked against them. And that's both the system within the Democratic Party, where the debates are on Saturdays, where they felt like the Democratic National Committee was favoring Hillary Clinton, but also the larger message of the Sanders campaign is that the economic system is stacked against regular people. And so this is kind of at the core. The fact that it got ugly there in Nevada is a problem, and it's maybe a little bit of a surprise, although tensions were running hot. I think the question of what happens in Philadelphia is how much does the tension at the moment, does Bernie Sanders, is there a fight that keeps going, or do both sides recognize for the sake of unity they have to kind of step back a minute or two? And that's really something we're going to watch play out over the next few weeks.
That's really been Bernie Sanders's question from the very beginning. I mean, he was going to campaign. It was going to be an uphill climb. He was going to contrast himself with Hillary Clinton. But then, at the end of the day, there was always the possibility that he was not going to win, and then he was going to have to tell these followers, these impassioned followers, look, the person I've just been talking about for the last few months, who I've told you is not adequate, is not as good as I would have been for president, go ahead and support her anyway. Is he going to be able to make that transition, or is he going to need some outside help, say from maybe Vice President Biden?
Well, I think if we look at the Republican field, we get a model of how those kinds of transitions can take place, which is that the action of the person who loses after a nomination gets settled tends to kind of paper over the old disagreement. So if Bernie Sanders works really hard for Hillary Clinton, or starts talking about the things they have in common and how she will carry forward with a lot of his message, he can undo any of the problems he may have created during the primary.
Well, you can watch Face the Nation every Sunday morning right here on 8 News Now, starting at 8:30. A Las Vegas judge has dealt a blow to opponents of Nevada's school choice bill. District Court Judge Eric Johnson this week dismissed a lawsuit by the American Civil Liberties Union that was seeking to declare the law unconstitutional. Patrick Walker's over at our Storyteller to unscramble the decision. Patrick?
Well, yeah, here is that decision, the front page of it. It's 45 pages long in total. So let me get rid of this and point you to the last page of the decision where we really kind of get into that final decision. Judge Eric Johnson found the school choice law is legal because it doesn't violate the Constitution's ban on spending education dollars for sectarian purposes. So he dismissed the lawsuit. The ACLU, which is behind the suit, disagrees with this assessment and the decision, while backers of the bill laud it.
Judge Johnson, I think, gave a very thorough decision.
Governor Brian Sandoval pleased with the decision by District Court Judge Eric Johnson to throw out a lawsuit challenging the state's new school choice law. The issue at hand, whether or not public funds will go toward funding private religious education.
This is unconstitutional, this transfer of cash from the taxpayer to private religious use.
ACLU of Nevada Executive Director Todd Story says the judge's decision came as a surprise.
How a decision can be made that says, let's take taxpayer dollars and funnel it to private education, which frequently is going to be a religious education, is to us very clearly a violation of that article of the Constitution.
The state is not giving any money directly to schools. The state has no control really over what schools a parent may or may not choose.
The Nevada Policy Research Institute supports the school choice law, also known as the Education Savings Account program. The program essentially allows parents to apply to receive the money that would be spent on their child, about $5,000 per year, at a private school and spend it on tuition or tutoring, for example. Supporters say that provides more options to more families.
Because it's in the parents' hands, it's no violation whatsoever for the Blaine Amendment.
But the ACLU says parents always had that choice, and this is about something else.
From our perspective, is what this program is all about. It is dismantling public education as we know it.
Well, despite this ruling, the program is still on hold because another lawsuit is pending in the state Supreme Court for the families of the roughly 5,000 children who have signed up for the program. They're going to have to wait on the outcome of that lawsuit. The ACLU also could appeal its decision in its case to the Supreme Court here in the state. So, Steve, we're talking about that other lawsuit that's still locked up in Carson City in the state Supreme Court. So what's the issue with that? What does that mean?
Well, that lawsuit has to do with the fact that a claim that the Constitution says that tax dollars can only be spent on public schools in Nevada and not on things like private tuition or private tutoring. And if you have an ESA, you'd be able to do that.
And of course, that injunction is in place in that case.
Right.
So regardless of this, the injunction is going to stay until they make a decision.
The injunction is, which is why nobody can go forward and start spending money on ESAs right now.
Gotcha. All right, coming up, debating the commerce tax.
When you're in a position of leadership and a position of responsibility, you've got to pay for things.
Michael Roberson tells us why his primary opponents are barking up the wrong tree by attacking him on that front. That's coming up.
Back in 2008, over 77,000 Nevada homes faced foreclosure, making us the foreclosure capital of America. I was determined to stand up for Nevada.
As Attorney General, Catherine Cortez Masto fought back, praised by Republicans and Democrats. She held banks accountable and helped get $1.9 billion for Nevada homeowners.
I'm Catherine Cortez Masto. I approve this message because I've spent my career solving problems. Isn't that something we need more of in Washington?
Hey, honey. You remember to lock the Buick, right?
Of course I do. I'll never forget that. The Buick Remote Link app, now available in every Buick.
You closed all the apartment windows, too.
Come on. Really?
You're the best.
During the Buick Memorial Day sales event, current lessees switch to Buick and get this low-mileage lease on this 2016 Encore for around $179 per month.
The Race Now on Politics Now is sponsored by NV Energy. We're putting all of our energy into your energy.
Tireworks is your one-stop shop, including oil changes, now only $9.45. Save $25 off any routine maintenance service. Get this, when you buy 4 tires, you'll get 4 free oil changes.
Register today and start fundraising.
In the race for Las Vegas Justice Court Department 6, Judge Beta Yeager stands above the rest. Judge Yeager has more experience and more jury trials than both of her opponents combined. She founded our community court and was honored with the Award of Excellence and the President's Award. 20 years of courtroom experience, BYU educated, Las Vegas's first Asian Justice of the Peace. Judge Beta Yeager is the clear choice for Justice Court Department 6.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
State Senate Majority Leader Michael Roberson is turning his attention to winning a congressional seat amid a crowded Republican primary.
His opponents have focused on his voting record in the Senate to attack him, especially his role in helping the governor pass the commerce tax to pay for education. We asked him about that and being a uniter.
I guess we'll start with the title conservative. I've seen that a lot on your website. You talked about calling yourself the most accomplished conservative. You have endorsements from conservative leaders. You have a section that says Michael Roberson delivering conservative reforms. It seems like that's a really important thing for you to be considered a conservative. Is it?
Well, I think it's reality when you look at my record. This last session, I sponsored and passed the most comprehensive collective bargaining bill in the history of the state. I sponsored and passed the most comprehensive PERS reform in the history of this state. I sponsored and passed 6 different tort reform bills. I and the governor and the legislature cut $500 million out of state government spending in 2011, the most in the country on a percentage basis. So, and then you get into the education reform, the most conservative education reform in the entire country. School choice, decentralization of the 5th largest school district, new accountability measures. So, oh, and by the way, I sponsored and passed the most comprehensive Second Amendment legislation last session, expanding law-abiding gun owners' gun rights.
Now, obviously, you're running in a Republican primary, and so being thought of as a conservative is helpful to you at this moment. Do you worry that you might alienate some independents or even some Democrats? Because I could see people in those parties, considering you for their vote in the general election.
Well, I hope to obtain their vote in the general election, and I think I should. I'm a problem solver. I've gotten things done, and I think that's the problem people have with Washington. They don't see anyone in Washington doing anything, and I've led the effort to actually get things done in Carson City. I'm a mainstream, pragmatic conservative.
In terms, though, of that tax, you've been attacked by that. Some of your opponents who have pledged that they will never raise taxes ever under any circumstances. They have said it's just not conservative to raise taxes.
But Steve, when you're in a position of leadership and a position of responsibility, you've got to pay for things. Okay? If you want a good school system, you have to pay for it. Now, I'm not one that believes you just throw money at a problem. That's not what we did. We completely overhauled the way we fund education in this state. We put in third-party accountability measures. We put in benchmarks that have to be met. We put all the new education money in silos, in categorical funding programs that are going to go to the classroom, and we walled that money off from collective bargaining. And we paired it with the most conservative and expansive education reform of any state in the history of this country.
You haven't always had this view. I mean, when you started your career, you signed the tax pledge that said you weren't going to raise taxes. You changed your mind on that. Why?
Absolutely, because once you actually serve on the Finance Committee and you take a look at the budget and you see that even after this session, Nevada spends at 1992 state government spending levels on a per capita inflation adjusted basis. The federal government can't say that. Most states can't say that. We have not grown our government since 1992, and that includes the tax reform of last session. We have the smallest number of state employees in the country on a per capita basis. We want to have a better education system. We want to have a better mental health system, a better health care system. We need roads, bridges, infrastructure here in this state. People want a great community to live in, and some of that costs money. That's just the reality of life. But what we've done is try to balance the need to be fiscally prudent and protect small businesses and Nevada families with the idea that, hey, we've got to spend some money to improve these very important public services that the state provides here in Nevada.
Your district is a fairly closely divided district.
Sure.
So no matter what, you are going to have to appeal to the middle, even to Democrats, as well as to Republicans in that district. Donald Trump he may be adding to the Republican Party's numbers, but he's also alienating a lot of people.
Hillary Clinton has alienated a lot of people too,
but not as many as Donald Trump. And
well, we're a polarized country, right?
We sure are.
We do need to find more common ground.
Yeah.
The question, I think, for most Americans is going to be, who can find more common ground?
Roberson says the first thing he would tackle in Congress is government over-regulation. You can see him talk about that, his view on public lands, and much more on LasVegasNow.com. You can also watch interviews with some of his opponents in that race.
All right, we talk about the Republican congressional candidates and office seekers. So the big question, will he be supporting Donald Trump?
Well, I asked him that, and he had the same answer that Governor Sandoval has had. He said, yes, I'll support the Republican nominee. He wouldn't use the actual name Trump. I think none of them want to say Trump. I think they're maybe holding out possibility it might be somebody else. I don't know who at this point, but it was pretty much the same answer. Just because he and Governor Sandoval and a lot of other Republicans just can't see themselves supporting Hillary Clinton.
Well, up next on Politics Now, the good news for rooftop solar customers that may be helping out their wallets.
And school district board of trustees candidates respond to my question about how to stop teachers from having sex with students. Stay with us.
It's the Centennial Mazda Yes You May Zero to Drive sales event. Zero down, zero security deposit, zero first month's payment, and zero do it signing. Get in now for the Yes You May Zero to Drive sales event only at Centennial Mazda.
Start your day at Las Vegas's best buffet, The Feast at all Station Casinos. The Feast gives you the most choices morning till night. Custom omelets, fresh soups and salads, hand-carved roast and incredible desserts. International specialties from fresh-walked stir-fry to homemade pizzas. And with the Station Casinos boarding pass, it's all you can eat for less than you'd think. Sign up for a card today and save on every meal. So why just buffet when you can feast at all Station Casinos?
I'm Michael Roberson, and I approve this message.
$17 million. A federal judge ordered Danny Tarkanian to pay $17 million for a fraudulent development scheme. Federal investigators found that he defrauded creditors and lied under oath. Tarkanian even orchestrated a scheme to take cash for himself. Now Tarkanian's declared bankruptcy and walked away, leaving us holding the bag for his failed scheme. Danny Tarkanian. It's time we walked away from him.
It's the Centennial Mazda Yes You May Zero to Drive sales event. Lease a 2016 Mazda 3i Sport for just $209 a month, or a 2016 Mazda 6 Sport for just $249 a month. Get in now for the Yes You May Zero to Drive sales event only at Centennial Mazda.
Their home burnt to the ground. The mortgage paid off by insurance. But
They were going to foreclose on your home. Your burnt down home.
I burnt down?
8 on Your Side helps a family stuck between a bank and a hard place. Tomorrow on 8 News Now at 11.
Next live, co-host Fred Savage.
I'm so unprepared for this. Don't panic, Fred!
Plus Amelia Clark and Bachelorette JoJo Fletcher.
Monday morning at 9, only on 8 News Now. You're watching Politics Now.
This week, I hosted the first of 3 public education town halls sponsored by the Gwynn Center for Policy Priorities, Nevada Succeeds, and HOPE. The Henderson Forum featured candidates for school board, state board of education, and the Board of Regents. I asked the current and potential CCSD trustees how they would combat the problem of teachers having inappropriate relations with their students. Here's what they said.
A lot of the cases that we see are people that have been in the system for a while. And
had no indication.
And had no indication. So I think some of the really important facts are we need to make sure that students and teachers are really never left alone. That there always needs to be more adults in the room than one with 1 or 2 kids.
Burning down a boathouse. All of a sudden, all teenagers are bad. I think the situation is exactly the same, where 5 teachers in a few years have behaved very badly.
Policy doesn't keep up with new technology, and that's somewhere where we as a board can look to set policy.
There'll be 2 more of these forums later this month. If you want to attend, we have the information on LasVegasNow.com. Patrick?
All right, Steve, thank you very much. It's time now for The Race Now, where we talk about the big local stories in politics coming up this week. A Nevada panel has taken the first steps toward grandfathering in rooftop solar customers. The new policy will allow them to go back to those more generous rate structures for the 25 years from the date they started using their panels. The PUC increased those rates, as you remember, back in December, causing a big backlash. It's an issue that will be taken back up in the 2017 legislative session. A super PAC that supports Hillary Clinton is buying up lots of airtime here in Nevada.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Well, this ad labeled "Speak" targets Donald Trump for his comments about women. The Priorities USA Super PAC has reserved $100 million for TV ads this election. This is just the first one, to the tune of $6 million. The ads will be airing here for the next 3 weeks. And military veterans wanting to use medical marijuana for pain took a big step forward this week. An amendment by Nevada Congressman Joe Heck passed the House of Representatives as part of a military Veterans Affairs funding bill. It allows VA doctors to recommend medical marijuana to their patients for pain. The Obama administration had previously put a gag order on those doctors talking about it. A similar amendment is in the Senate version of the bill, which is currently under debate. Well, Steve, I think that Trump ad will be causing some raised eyebrows here in Nevada.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he claims he's been misquoted in that ad, but it's a really hard case to make when they're using clips of Trump's own voice.
Well, there is a pot forum coming up this week. The goal, to get more research going. I'll tell you all about it coming up next in What to Watch.
Thanks for coming today. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from. You all chose the best tool for the job. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado.
Nice.
A good-looking pickup.
Incredible.
I love it.
Find your tag and get a total value of $9,000 on this Silverado Double Cab All-Star. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
When my dad turned 65, he and my mom got by mostly on Social Security. And they both fell and broke their hips, and Medicare was a lifesaver for them. And it still is for my mom. So I see politicians who want to cut these benefits, and I think they're just so out of touch. I mean, millions of people rely on Social Security and Medicare. If you're not going to stand up for folks who've worked their whole lives to make sure they have a secure retirement, you just shouldn't be in office. I'm Susie Lee, and I approve this message.
The world is getting more dangerous. Your home may not be as safe as you think. Trust Rolatan Rolling Shutters to protect your home, your business, and especially your family. Your windows alone can't stop burglars. You need the protection only Rolatan Rolling Shutters can provide. With Rolatan's durable aluminum construction and insulation, you'll be safe and secure, plus saving money, up to 60% off your energy bills. Right now, get a free FireSense control switch with your order. It opens your shutters in case of a fire. Call Rolatan for your peace of mind.
2 cents due at lease signing and only $188 a month for a new 2016 Hyundai Sonata for well-qualified lessees only at Hyundai of Las Vegas. Through May 31st, all you need to bring is your 2 cents and choose from over 200 Sonatas in stock. Make no mistake, Hyundai of Las Vegas is celebrating Memorial Day all month long. Visit our showroom on West Sahara, just west of Rainbow, and save. All it takes is 2 cents at the all-new Hyundai of Las Vegas. Don't miss this sale.
Perhaps the weirdest thing involving Trump this week was the release of tapes suggesting that in the 90s he had for some reason invented a publicist for himself named John